Okay, good morning. So 56 people have joined till now. So let's begin and more others can keep joining the sessions. Okay, a couple of things. I'll again circulate the attendance link in the afternoon, and I'll also open the previous 2 days. People have written that they were not able to fill for some reason or the other. See, I cannot fill the attendance for you. You have to do that yourself. Okay, it's too difficult task for me. I really don't have that kind of time to do that because it means entering everybody's name and email and phone number and then marking. Okay. So today's topic is problem and problem solving. So anyone in life who doesn't have a problem in life over here, anybody, would anyone say that he or she does not have any problem at all? Or do all of us have a problem? You can type in the chat box if you don't have a problem. If you have a problem, then don't type. Okay, somebody's written life is synonymous to problems, I believe. Wait, let me open the box. Yeah, life is synonymous to problem. Yes, if you have to live life, you also have to learn to face problems. I always say that the easiest thing is actually to die, because when you die, you are rid of everything. You don't have to bother about your family's next meal or your kids' education or some work or the other that is pending. So the whole idea is that we have to surmount all our problems, not give up in front of them. So how do we go about it? What is it that we do? So this is what we are going to discuss in today's session. Okay. So this is a basic or general outline of what we'll be looking at: problems, problem solving. How do we go about solving a problem? How do we improve our skills, and some of the important problem solving skills or techniques, I should rather say. So, a problem is a difference between the ideal state and our current state. My ideal weight should be 45 kgs, I weigh 65 kgs. So, that is again a problem. So, like I've given one example over here. Suppose I'm running a tour and travel agency. My goal is that my agency should conduct 80 tours in a month, but it's conducting only 50 tours in a month. So the difference between the goal and what is happening currently is the problem. So, I mean, if I ask you for examples, all of you would have something or the other from your life or from what you see in your surroundings. There is always that goal that we have in mind, and there is always the lack of it. So, what are these problem solving skills? Can anyone go around and solve a problem? Well, to an extent, you may say yes. But given the times that we are living in, even problem solving has become a skilled job. And there are people trained to solve problems. Dr. S. Vimla, please keep yourself muted. Or do you want to speak? Okay, so these skills actually teach us how to look at problem from different angles, to find out the source of the problem and to search a solution which can actually solve the problem. It's not just giving you some medicine and you are okay for 2 hours and again you fall ill after 2 hours. So it's basically like this. You get up in the morning, you have stomach ache, you vomit, you go and take some medicine. The second part of it is you have a stomach ache, you vomit, you take some medicine, but you go and consult the doctor. The doctor tells you to get some tests done and then diagnoses the problem and gives you the medicines accordingly, which takes care of whatever illness you were suffering from. So, one way is that I have a problem, I just solve it myself somehow or the other. Temporarily, it is done. But somebody who's skilled at solving problems, who is earning his or her bread and butter through this, is like the doctor who will go to the source of your problem and try to give you a solution which may not lead to a recurrence of the same problem. So, there are certain key skills which are involved in problem solving. Active listening. Now, if you see, listening is something that all of us have been stressing from day one, whether it is in as a general communication, whether it is for oral communication, whether it is a part of etiquette, whether even it is a part of time management as well. Because if you don't listen to instructions clearly, you'll obviously waste your time in looking and re-looking at the same thing. So you need to listen very effectively. So I have a problem. You are the person who's going to provide me the solution. So you should listen to all that I have to say rather than just hear a part of it and come make your decisions. So you would be like the doctor. There are doctors who charge for their time, right? Every 5 minutes they'll charge you. So you just have 5 minutes to talk. So that again itself will lead to new problems. So this is something where you have to be an active, person who's going to solve the problem has to be an active listener. And listening doesn't mean just listening to my words, but also to interpret my actions, my silences, my hesitations, my pauses, and to gather meaning from them also. So once you've listened to my problems, you've kind of made a list or some interpretations. The next part comes in analysis, which we'll discuss. Then research. You research the problem. You show your creativity in solving it. Then your communication skills come into play in the sense that how will you communicate the same problem or solution to somebody else? Then dependability, decision making, and team building. All these are the essential skills that one requires to solve problems. And we are going to discuss each of these skills in the following slides. So these are the steps that we take where we use all the skills that we've outlined in the previous slide. So I identify the problem. I look for information regarding it. I clarified the issues with the stakeholders so that there is no difference in their problem and my interpretation of the same. Then I start working on the solutions. So, say I have 4 or 5 solutions. I select what seems to be the best option. I tell the stakeholders that you should apply this particular solution. But my job doesn't end there. I also have to monitor the solution that they are using. So, when I'm researching, this is one of the basic and most important skills you require in life, whether it is as a problem solver, a researcher, a faculty. You must be able to identify the cause of the problem and understand it completely. And how do you gather the information? You brainstorm with the other team members, you consult experienced colleagues, and again, you have online researches and courses which can help you in your research. Uh, I will not be able to turn off the virtual background. It would be a disturbance only with my image, not with the sound, I hope. So then I come to analyzing the problem. I look at the situation. I discuss with all the stakeholders what the situation is. And it is these analytical skills which will help me in understanding the problem and developing effective solutions. And again, I need that these skills when I'm researching for solutions or more about the problem. So, as I said, we have the steps. We identify the problem, the shortcomings, the deficiencies, whatever dissatisfactions we have. We ask questions, and it follows in a following slide. I'll tell you the key word. And we developed a sensitivity towards subtle problems. So, somebody is facing certain health issues. I may not crucify him or her for those reasons. Then I can choose to talk to the people in a firm or around me. That would be the part of the interview process. So I can go into discussions with them, informal discussions. I can make a questionnaire and circulate amongst them to look for their opinion. I can have a set of 3 or 4 questions and go in for very focused group discussions and find out. So, what I gather from the website, the databases, that is my electronic source. What I gather from books and newspapers are my print material. My primary source for information or primary mode would be my observations, interviews, and questionnaires. And informal ones would be the files that I look at in a firm or the informal conversations or discussions I carry on. The third step is one has to be an observer, which means you talk less, you observe more. And then the question is that we must ask a what and not who. Okay, then that way we go in for a reality check. Now, what is the difference between what and who? Say, for example, on your campus, suddenly the number of COVID cases surged up. So, would you be more interested in finding out what led to the surge, or would you be more interested in knowing who are the people who are infected and did not get tested? Yes, because when we do a who, we actually end up making a personal attack onto people. So we don't have to get personal. The whole idea is to solve the problem, not get rid of the person. Find the person contracted COVID from somewhere. We are not going to kill him or her because of that. And then the reality check. What is the actual reality? We are not living in an ideal world or ideal times. So then comes the process of decision making. So once I've researched, I have to about the problem. I have to go into how do I solve it. So there are some people who are blessed and they can give quick solutions to problems. There are some people who take their own sweet time and then come to good sound decisions. There are people who have years and years of experience in the industry and then they can provide you effective solutions or decisions. But then those who have less experience, it's just that they have to do more research, use more of the analytical skills than those who are more experienced. And there are times you may need time, or you may have to send the issue to somebody else who's more capable than you. And there is no harm in doing that. If not, I do not have the ability to solve a problem or do something at a particular point of time, but I know that my colleague can do it, I should transfer the entire files to him or her. It's not a matter of ego or anything. So coming to this process of like, okay, once we've done decision making. So say as a problem solver, you've made a decision. You communicate it to your stakeholders. It lies in the hands of the stakeholders whether they want to accept your decision or do not want to accept it. But let me give you a scenario. Say, for example, your grandfather has left some property. Your father and his brothers were not able to divide it, or they say they lived in a lot of harmony. But now, in your generation, you and your cousins want to divide that same property. And you want to do an equitable division, but then you have problems. You say that I want to live in I want that particular share where I'm living. And another cousin says that I also want the same area because I'm also living in that particular area. Maybe one person is in front, the other one is living behind. So, what do you do in that case? Say there are three portions, three equitable portions. One person is like, okay, he or she is fine with that area that he or she has been allotted and goes. The second and the third one, both of them want the side portion. Nobody wants to be in the middle. What will you do in that case? If you go to the courts will appoint somebody whose job will be to, uh, yes, that person can also use the lottery method. You can also use the lottery method. But is the lottery method so very acceptable to people all around? People will say that my luck is bad. I do not want to follow the lottery method. So you see, even if you go to the court and the court appoints somebody to sort out the dispute amicably, people may still accept or not accept the decision. But then, yes, what happens is that when the court appoints somebody and the decision he or she makes is a binding one. But if you ask some other relative to play their part in this, then you have the option of accepting a decision or not accepting it. The same thing happens with firms. The person who appointed you to solve the problem may still like to rethink over the decision you've made or the solution you've provided. But then the onus is not onto you. Your job was to provide a solution. You've provided the solution. Whether they are able to implement it or not, that is their problem. Say, for example, most of the institutes in our country are now going into the ERP mode with everything going online. So, what do the companies who provide these solutions do? They send someone who listens to what each person wants, each department needs, and then makes a software or a program catering to those needs. Now, how effectively my institute is able to use the software or not able to use it, that is not the problem of the firm or the company. So that is why decision making becomes actually a very crucial area. Many things depend on the person is sitting in the chair or the person who has the authority. So again, communication is important. So if I have a problem, I'm I've appointed somebody, I should be able to express my problem clearly to the other person. If I'm not able to express clearly, that itself will lead to multiple new problems. Then, secondly, one should know that which communication channel would be the most appropriate when I'm seeking assistance. So, any idea what communication channel is? Anyone? You may like to unmute and speak, else I can go on defining it. So, there are times when the words channel and the word medium is used synonymously. But by medium, I generally mean oral or the written medium. By channel, we mean the way information moves, whether it's moving from the top to the bottom, which we call the downward channel, or it's moving from the bottom to the top, which we call the upward channel. It's moving at the same level, that's horizontal, and it may just move amongst various people as well belonging to different departments. So you can also call it spiral. So there are different ways. So if I'm seeking assistance, should I directly get in touch with somebody who will solve my problem? Or do I first tell the problem to the person who's lower in rank to me, then he conveys it to the next one, then the next one, and then somebody at the bottom rung gets to know the problem? Or at the bottom, the staff see some problem. So do they communicate to their senior who's the next in line? So one has to think what would be the most appropriate channel to seek assistance. And anything which saves on time and money is very appropriate. And as we said, if you have clarity, there will not be any confusion, and you can easily implement appropriate solutions. Now, dependability, the word dependability means that people are not indispensable, or sorry, they're not dispensable, they are actually indispensable, which actually is a harsh reality in our life. No matter how much we say that somebody is indispensable, at the end of the day, none of us are. Somebody else will always be there to take our place. But yes, we must be indispensable, or an organization should be dependent on us till the point we are in service. So, if I, as a staff, I have the ability to solve problems in a timely manner, that is how my organization is going to depend on me. They'll know that if I have problems and I take to this particular person, he or she will solve it without creating any sort of problem or taking the problem into the public domain. And so employers also value individuals who they can trust. They know that this person will identify the problem and give us a quick and effective solution. But yes, this is not a one-day affair. It takes a lot of time to reach that particular stage. It's not that we are born problem solvers. Just as all of us are not born teachers, we become teachers with the help of training and learning. Similarly, it is training, it is experience in the field that gives us these qualities of solving problems and issues. So even if you look at your, say, at the department level, you'll have a problem. So some people will be totally harassed and they'll be disturbed. Oh God, we have to do this. I don't know how I do it. But there will be people who will be like, okay, give me 5 minutes time. I'll get this done. There are times you are suddenly asked to provide some data, and then everybody is like turning, opening files and looking at things. And there will be someone who says that, no, I've saved this particular data somewhere on the computer and I'll get it for you. So these are qualities that we need to develop amongst ourselves. I mean, I know of people who are so much of an enthusiast about things that with every email that comes in, they'll make a PDF of it and they'll store it. And when time comes, you and I may not be able to find the email, but they'll have it ready at hand to show it to you that 2 years back, this is what you had written. So, how do you change your stance now? So, you have people who even go to that extreme. But you don't have to go to any extreme as such, be a normal person. But yes, with the electronic domain open, save as much as you can professionally and clearly. And that is what will make you invincible or indispensable for an organization. The next is describing the problem or writing the problem statement. So once you have everything, everything also needs to be put down in a very clear, concise manner, and what is the result that is expected from the solution. So the company has a problem, the company wants a solution, but even from the solution, they want certain results. So all these three things have to be noted down. So the first thing that one goes is one starts looking for the causes of the problem. This we talked in slide 2 or 3. So cause means what is the reason that has brought about certain change. So my company was performing well till a month back. What is the reason which has led to a change that the problem has crept up? And so when I'm looking at it, I have certain symptoms. It is these symptoms which tell me or give me some evidence of changes happening. So productivity has gone low, or my profit is less, or my staff are quitting. So these are the symptoms, and I need to identify all those symptoms. Then, as it is true with all government agencies, cost is always an issue because we never have the adequate budget. So one has to consider the cost. One of the best techniques that people generally use to solve problems is something that we call the 5 why technique. So, as I said, we do not ask the question, who did it? We go in for what is happening. And then our next question is, why is it happening? We are not concerned with people as such. So, the 5 why technique was initially invented by Sakichi Toyoda, the founder of Toyota Industries, but it was mostly used by Taichi Ono. He was the managers in Toyota. And the best part of this technique is that you don't require any fancy names or acronym. You don't have to mug up or memorize anything. But it takes you down to the root cause of a problem. So if you look at this sentence, Every problem has a cause behind it. True. But a superficial analysis will only depict the symptoms. So it's like, as I gave you the example of getting up in the morning with stomach ache and vomiting. A persistent inquiry is required to find the real cause or the root cause behind the issue. So persistent inquiry, visit to the doctor and routine tests, and only then you can get lasting solutions. So all the time, Google doctor, Google remedies do not work. There are times you have to visit the real doctor. So let's get into some activity mode. A patient's wrong leg was amputated. Anybody would, can we start on using the 5 why technique? So I need 5 people, 5 volunteers. Please unmute yourselves. Okay, Tejaswini.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Tejaswini, can you give me the first why that you asked? A patient's wrong leg was amputated. Let me take a paper and pen. What would be the first why? I cannot access my chat box right now, so you'll have to speak up. Yes, Tejaswini.
Hello,
Yes,
ma'am, can I?
yes, you may.
Yeah. Why person's this leg was amputated? Question mark.
Okay, why was the person's leg amputated? Okay, the next one.
Hi, ma'am. My name is Deepa,
Mhm.
and my answer would be, why was the patient's wrong leg amputated?
Okay, so and now we need to go to the second question and answer to the first one. So why was the person's wrong leg? So we are not asking who amputated the wrong leg. Why was the person's wrong leg amputated? So can we have some logical answer to this?
Maybe wrong data like formatted in the computer or wherever.
Okay, the doctor didn't know.
Yeah.
The doctor didn't know which leg to amputate. So we'll probably reach to the computer, but we're just going. So the next question then will become, why didn't the doctor know? So what can be the reasonable answer?
One answer may be change of doctor at the last moment. Maybe again.
Okay, one can be okay, change of doctor, or another reason can be not mentioned in the file, patient's file. Right, every
Right.
patient in a hospital will have
The
the file.
file was misplaced. The
Okay.
file was misplaced or a wrong file was chosen.
Okay. The patient's file was
Wrong,
misplaced.
wrongly written in the file.
Mhm. So again, with each one can go with a why. Why was there a change in the doctor at the last moment? Or why was this not mentioned in the file? Why was the file misplaced? Right, so let's take the first why. Why was there a change in the doctor at the last moment? The allotted doctor fell ill or had to attend to some other emergency. Okay, some tension, some emergency. And why wasn't it mentioned in the patient's file? This can be a systemic error, right? The data entry on the system, hospital system did not show it. Or the file was misplaced. So why was the file misplaced? So if you go on with this entire process, you'll come to like probably something like a wrong data entered, and maybe that too entered because the person entering it was not trained, had been hired at the last moment. So by doing this, we come to certain root causes, and then we know that okay, in future, this should not happen. Okay, let's take a look at the next one, which has happened, I guess, with most of us last year. The college website crashed at the time of admission. Anybody? I'll give you the first question. Why did the college
Maybe the
website?
code,
Pardon?
uh, um, um, maybe the code of the website was not correctly written.
Okay, so then my next question is why was the code not correctly written?
Maybe the person hired was not experienced enough to handle that level of data traffic.
And then the next question, why was an inexperienced person hired?
Maybe it's not inexperience that it could be more due to some technical fault in the code which was not caught at the moment.
Okay, that can be, and even like inexperienced, when you talk of being inexperienced, you can always get down to budgeting part. The institute didn't have enough money to pay an experienced person.
Yes, ma'am. That can also be the case.
Right, and then you come down to okay, why wasn't there enough money? So if it's a state-funded university or institute, or it's a private institute, so you know from where the funding comes or doesn't come.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
by doing it, see, at every point of time, we have to very clearly keep on asking the whys. If you look at the third one, now this is something pertaining to an industry. The productivity of a factory is lower during night shift than during day shift. So again, why is the productivity lower during night shift? Which means this would actually mean that certain systems are turned off and the factory is not producing during the night. Whatever stuff it is producing, it's being produced during the day. So if this is happening, why are the systems switched off? So you get down to, okay, we do not have trained manpower in the night shift. Why don't we have trained manpower? Because we could not find people. So why didn't we find people? We didn't have so much money to pay. And so you may come down to a point where you realize that you need to train the night shift manpower and take the productivity to the same level as it is during the day shift. Similarly, number 4, material did not reach the construction site on time. So why didn't the material reach on time?
Maybe there was horrendous traffic, ma'am.
Okay,
Farmers
can you
protest,
start in? So again, it will
lockdown,
lockdown. So why is there the lockdown? Even in
COVID.
so okay, this is our reason for now. But say even for COVID and the lockdown, still, I mean, bigger things are moving, right? People have been asked not to move too much. So then it is, or something like, say, you place an order from one of these sites, and they give you an expected date of delivery as, say, after a week, and the product still doesn't reach you. And then you start going in, so you realize that, okay, it probably left the warehouse late. So why did it leave the warehouse late? It was not there in the warehouse. Why wasn't it there in the warehouse? So these are issues which we kind of go down to the bottom of things and then start working at the causes. The last one, like the number of students enrolled in a course is very less compared to the last 2 years.
Financial feasibility, scope of the
Yes.
course,
Mhm. Even given the current
quality of
times,
quality of the college or school,
and even given the current times, I mean, there were good courses where people have quit from those courses, right? Because of the online mode of teaching and learning, right? People don't want, they feel that like whatever fees they are paying, they're not getting stuff or material of the equivalent nature. So different areas, different domains, you can apply the 5 why technique, but just remember that all don't ask all the whys at the same time, because if you do that, you will create another set of problems. So keep your problem in mind, use one why at a time. And in fact, you can chart down whatever you've kind of asked. So you can have one of those tree diagram kind of a structure. Another technique that people use for problem solving is brainstorming. Now, this was first introduced in 1948 by Osborne. So he always felt that his employees, if they were asked things independently or individually, they did not have great ideas. But when they sat together, they could freely share their ideas and build on them. So he named it as brainstorming. So it's pretty advantageous in the sense that it boosts creativity. There's a lot of teamwork and it increases group cohesiveness. People stick together and everybody gets a chance to
Yardley,
contribute.
Yardley, घेतली वाटतं Yardley.
Please mute yourself, Sandeep. So there are certain rules for brainstorming. So you have to generate as many ideas as possible. Quantity is important, not quality. You are not allowed to criticize any idea or any person, just generate those ideas. And ideas can be very different, varied in nature, in range. And there's a term which we call piggybacking. So I may generate an idea, but my colleague may be able to build upon it. Okay, so I've generated an idea, but I kind of cannot think beyond that. But my colleague is a better thinker and he or she builds up upon that idea. So that is what is piggybacking. So this gives people the scope for acting as piggybacks. Piggyback is a game we played as child, right? You have a child, you carry him or her on your back. So like in Hindi, we would call chini ka boda. So when you begin the process of brainstorming, you start with writing down the ideas. You can be humorous about it. You can, and then give time for the ideas to marinate. It's like kebabs. You make very good kebabs if you marinate them properly. So similarly, even ideas need marination. Once that is done, then you are on a roll. Then once we in brainstorming itself, we have different techniques. So one is mind mapping. So I've got various ideas. I kind of write them on small bits of paper or I put them. Or what I do is I make cloud-like structures on the whiteboard and I cluster all ideas of a similar nature together. So at the end, it looks like what the brain looks like, all spirals and those cloudy formations. The next technique is of storyboarding. So just as you would write a movie script or a plot in parts, you do the same thing with ideas. Then another group activity that works very well, I mean, like, and you can try this among students, is group sketching. So you have a problem, they sketch something regarding the problem or solution. One person sketches something, the another person carries it on. You pass the paper around. And then there is something called star busting. So normally stars, when we draw stars, how many points do they have? 5. This one you make a 6-pointed star, and against each point you write some idea that comes into your mind. So most of these generally people would do them like you're gathered together in a room, you're sitting, you're chatting, you're doing this. Coming to the world of the online world that we are living in, we still have the option of using whiteboards in different meeting platforms. And these whiteboards are really very helpful that way. So we can make brainstorming into a game also. So there's something called the disruptive technique. So everybody has written his or her idea on small chits of paper and pin them to their softboard. And then people start moving across the room and say, "Sir, you come and you read my ideas. Whatever ideas you think are going to fail, you just remove them." So at the end of the day, ideas are literally thrown onto the floor. Then we have something called wishing solutions. So you have solutions that you wish you can apply if you had adequate resources or the budget was not a constraint. So you start wishing for those solutions and then maybe you reach to the ones that you can afford. What if? All the time, what if we did this? What will happen if we used this particular measure? So even that works pretty much in a very interesting manner. So like most educational institutions like ours, we've had to use it because we had PhD students on campus once some of them returned when things were turning normal, but suddenly when things were going bad, we had to ask them to leave. So in that case, it's like, what will happen if the students leave the campus? And so then you go on brainstorming with all your colleagues. So there is this intuitive approach that we can take, and there is the systematic approach. The systematic approach, you go in a very organized manner. In the intuitive approach, you go by your first reactions. You do not follow up any particular process. Then there is a technique called lateral thinking, which was first used by Bono in 1967. And he cites the judgment of Solomon as an example of lateral thinking. Anybody familiar with the judgment of Solomon?
Yes, ma'am. King Solomon, the
Yes.
wisest.
Yes. What was the judgment of Solomon? There were two women who were fighting over a child. Each woman was saying that the child is hers. And I mean, those times you did not have genetic tests and things to do. So what King Solomon said that, okay, we'll divide the child into two parts and each woman can take one half of the child. So the real mother was like, she said that, okay, so please don't kill the child, let her have it. And so he said that, no, the one who said this, so he said that this is the real mother. The real mother would not want the child to die. So it's from there that you have this entire story of the lateral thinking coming up. And this is pretty interesting. I have a few cases over here. Look at the first one. Long ago, in a small village in India, a poor farmer owed a great deal of money to an evil money lender. The money lender was very old and ugly, and he fancied the farmer's very attractive daughter. So he offered a bargain to the farmer. And the bargain is that he's put two pebbles in a bag, and he suggested that if the daughter takes out the black pebble, then she would become the moneylender's wife and the father's debt would be forgiven. If she took out the white pebble, it would mean that she didn't have to marry the father lender and the debt would also be considered paid. But if she did not pick up any, then it meant that the father would be thrown into jail. So while this conversation is happening, they're standing on the roadside and there's this pebble path, and the money lender picks up two pebbles. The girl is sharp eyed and she sees that he has picked both the black pebbles. So if you were advising the daughter, what would you tell her? Will you tell her to pick the pebble from the bag or not to pick the pebble from the bag? Any response? Any response, anyone?
Ma'am, that time you were not audible. Please repeat it again.
Okay, there's this lender who's very old and ugly, and he has lent money to someone who cannot pay it back. But this person has a beautiful daughter. The money lender wants to marry the daughter. So he comes out with a solution that in a bag he'll put two black pebbles. Sorry, a black and a white pebble. If the daughter chooses and takes out the black pebble, she will have to marry the money lender and the debt would be foregone. And if she takes out the white pebble, She doesn't have to marry the money lender and the debt will still be cancelled. And if she refuses to take out the pebbles, then the father goes into the jail. And so the place where they're standing, there are pebbles over there. And the money lender, he picks up two pebbles in front of their eyes and puts it in the bag. The daughter is very smart. She sees that he's put two black pebbles in the bag. So what would you tell if you were there to advise her? What will you tell her? Should she pick up the pebble or should she refuse to pick up the pebble? Take both of them. So if she takes out both, that will lead to other problems. We have to solve the current one. I mean, her idea is to save herself and her father. A smarter suggestion that has come was she should pick up one pebble. She should pretend to fall or stumble and drop the pebble. And when the money lender asks her for the pebble, she can always say that you look into the bag. I've just picked the opposite of what is there in the bag. So in the bag, there's just one black pebble left, which means that she has picked up a white pebble. And so the money lender will have to confess that he was cheating. See, the daughter cannot take out both and show that the money lender is being a cheat. He's already lent money, he's a devious creature. So that will lead to other unsurmountable problems for them. So the solution is you pick up a pebble, you pretend to fall down and drop the pebble, and then you say that I just picked up the opposite of what is there in the bag. So at times you have to like think on your feet and be very practical. Okay, so the shortage of ambulance. We've seen this happening in current times, right? We've read stories of people converting their autos into small ambulances, people converting, like already Boleros and Tata Sumos have been converted or are used as ambulances, right? So this is again the part of lateral thinking, or what you would call in Hindi, a term is jugaad. This is a part of a jugaad. Then this is a story I guess all of us are familiar with. There's a man who's in jail, and his wife has to plant vegetables, but she cannot dig the garden all alone, and she doesn't have money to hire help. So how did they manage? I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it goes like this. The man used to write letters to his wife, and every day the police they would read his letters before sending it off. So he was aware of this. So when the wife sent a letter that she has to dig the vegetable garden for planting the vegetables, the man writes a letter that stop, you foolish woman, don't dig up the garden. This is where all the valuables are. I've buried all the valuables. So the police read the letter, they go, they dig up the entire garden, but they cannot find anything. And then the wife writes back to him that I knew I had married a smart man. The police came here. I don't know what they were doing, but they've dug the entire garden. Now I'm going to plant the vegetables. Janardhan Kumar Tiwari, are you saying something? Okay, look at the third one and try to attempt. A man lived on the 10th floor of a building. Every day he took the elevator down to the ground floor to go to work and to go shopping. When he returned, he took the elevator to the 7th floor and then walked up the stairs to reach his apartment on the 10th floor. But on rainy days, he took the elevator all the way to the 10th floor. Why did this happen? On sunny days, why did he have to walk 3 floors? While on rainy days, he could go directly to the 10th floor. Anyone? Aditi Gupta, are you there? Or Akanksha? Anyone who would love to think this over? I missed a message. There was somebody's message. No, but in the morning he came from 10th floor to ground floor. On rainy days he goes to the 7th floor. So how can the elevator work only on till the 7th floor on sunny days? In the morning he comes from the 10th to the ground. On sunny days he goes from ground to 7th and walks 3 floors. But on rainy days he goes by the elevator till the 10th floor. Elevator means lift, not the escalator.
All depends on his mood.
No, dear. No, think. His height is short. So on sunny days, he doesn't have the umbrella, so he can press the button only till number 7. That is why he gets out at 7 and walks the rest 3 floors. On rainy days, he has an umbrella with himself. So he uses the umbrella to press number 10.
He should carry the umbrella always, or some stick or
Yes,
some other thing.
yes. And these are like, okay, ways of thinking when we get. Another interesting one is a carrot, a scarf, and 5 pieces of coal are found lying on the lawn. Nobody put them on the lawn, but there's a very simple logical reason why they are there. Can you guess? Anybody? I think this might be slightly difficult because it's not in our cultural context. People had built a snowman using these things. The snow melted, but the things are left. You are driving a bus. The bus is empty when you begin your route. At the first stop, 4 people get on. At the second stop, 8 people get on and 2 get off. At the third stop, 3 people get off and 4 get on. What color are the bus driver's eyes? Anyone? This is very easy. What is the color of the eyes? Look at the question very carefully.
Ma'am, black.
Brown. Brown.
Ma'am,
How
the
do you
question
say
is easy
black or
actually.
brown?
It can be either, isn't it? Whatever my eyes.
Right, because you are
Exactly.
the
I am the driver. I am the
right,
driver.
right.
Good question.
I mean, see, lateral thinking is again used as, I mean, these are again examples which are used as icebreakers when you have a new batch of students or new faculty colleagues or new staff in your institutions or firms. So they just help people get onto a comfortable level. But then this also kind of forces us to think or to look for what we would normally not look for. Everybody would start looking for number of people getting on and getting off and calculate. They are not expecting this question and they will not relate it to the first statement. Similarly, there was a very interesting joke that goes around that there was this office job which was already fixed for the manager's brother-in-law. But then there is this gentleman who comes for the interview, but because the interviews have to take place. And so the manager asks him a question uh, that two people are sitting on a boat. One person has a cigarette, but the other one has a matchstick, but no matchbox to light the stick, or something like this. How will you light the cigarette? So this guy who comes to the interview, he starts saying this song, this Hindi song, "Pani ne aag," या दो बूंद पानी का पड़ा, and then पानी ने आग लगाई, और मैं उस, like, I'll use that particular fire to light the cigarette. And then the manager gets so impressed and he says that forget my brother-in-law, I am hiring you. So this is what lateral thinking is, that you are able to think on your feet, think differently. See, I mean, there's no fire that's going to burn on the water without any oil spill, right? But because he's kind of thought of the song and he comes out with it, so it becomes a win-win situation for the manager. So now with lateral thinking, after lateral thinking, Bono came out the whole idea of critical thinking. And he says that there is not just one perspective to a problem. Problems are multidimensional in nature, and even solutions may be multidimensional. And even the person who's providing the solution, he or she will also have different perspectives to the solution. And so he gave this concept of the six thinking hats. So this enables the team to look at problems from different angles. So somebody can focus on data, the facts and figures. Someone provides creative solutions. Somebody thinks why a solution will work or it will not work. So the six thinking hats are of six different colors. So you have a white hat, you have the red hat, black, yellow, blue, and green. So the white hat deals with facts and information. The red hat is about feelings and intuition. The black hat deals with caution and problem. What are the risks? What are the challenges that we have to face if we apply a particular solution? The yellow hat looks at the benefits, the advantages of a solution or a policy. The blue hat is the managing hat. He or she controls the entire process. And the person wearing the green hat is the creative one and has to give creative solutions. So this is again, I mean, one needs to remember this. So when we are sitting in team, you can always ask somebody to don a white hat and to get all the facts and information. So everything to do with profit, loss, productivity, loss in income, the person with the white hat brings. The red hat goes in with what would be the first feel or the intuition. So you're not concerned with facts, figures, anything. The dil ki baat. And then the person who's wearing the black hat, he will look at everything and he'll say that, okay, these are the risks that I see with this solution. These are the challenges that I see. But then again, with problem solving, as with everything else, there are traps as well. So one shouldn't be overconfident that whatever problem comes, I'll definitely have the solution to it and the solution is going to work. Again, we must not prejudge ideas and situations. Oh no, I think this is the only solution that is going to work. One has to evaluate all the available options. That is why brainstorming becomes a very good situation where everybody can give options. Avoid the bandwagon effect. So you see, oh, this is a popular opinion. Everybody is talking about this opinion. This is what I'm going to adopt. No. Think creatively, think critically. And again, avoiding the self-serving bias. Don't see the data as you want to see it. Look at it realistically. There are problems, then there are problems. So thank you. Do you have any questions? Ladies and gentlemen, any questions? I hope I leave you with the desire to solve problems in your organizations and institutes and universities. Please, it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of grit to go to people and to talk to them. There are times people will not provide you with the right information, the right perspective. The attitude may be something that you may not like, but when you have to solve problems, you have to solve problems. And that is one way where you become indispensable for an organization. I always say, see, most people will have educational backgrounds same to yours. What is it that differentiates you from those people? It is all these extra skills that you may have. The skill to solve problems, the skill to communicate effectively, the skill to manage time. So, and skills is something that our country has, and skills is something that our country also lacks. So again, as we did yesterday, I'll share the attendance link in the afternoon session and I'll also keep the previous two tabs open. So all those who have to make your entry, you can do that.